you and I've talked about this. This is really not about adults. It's about students. So we have to make sure we keep that perspective on it. I would pray too, Brad. The other thing I'd want to add on here is just pray for our leadership nationally, because our board is extremely passionate and heavily involved with what we're doing. And none of us are immune to the spiritual warfare and things that go on. So we all need prayer for that.
Working with the local church to take the hope of Christ to every student in the United States. This is First Priority. Now here are your hosts, Steve Cherico and Brad Skelling.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the First Priority Podcast. Glad that you're here again today. My name is Brad Skelling, and we've got a great show in front of you because I have everybody's favorite, Mark Robbins, with me today. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brad. Well, appreciate those words there, but I'm not sure. Everybody's favorite, but
if you're everybody's favorite, you're nobody's favorite. Is that what you're saying, or what's going on with that?
That's right. Everybody's definitely my favorite, though. I love all the world, the First Priority. So
there you go.
That I know is true.
It's like my kids. When I say to one of my kids, they're like, "Morgan, you're my favorite," and she's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah. Tell me one of my kids I like more than you. I like you all the same.
Yeah,
everybody's the same."
That is true. Yeah. Well, I'm the same way with my 3 children, and I got 3 grandbabies. So I see all right? That. Yeah. I love them all. Yeah.
That's
perfect.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me today. Steve is not with us as the co-host, so we can keep it positive today instead of all the negative banter we get from Cherico. You know, throwing it all on his, and it's all his fault all the time.
That's right. We can blame him since he's not here.
Exactly. But yeah, today I'm just gonna timestamp this. It's Thursday, October 19. We are 4 or 5 days in front of the conference. When this drops on Monday night, Tuesday morning, there'll be 55 of us in the Embassy Suites, Nashville, at the fall conference. So it's going to be an exciting day. If you are listening to this on Tuesday, pray for us. We'll be praying for you for sure, spending some time in prayer Tuesday afternoon. And we should be having a good time together. If you're not at the conference with us, you will be able to hear some of the sessions we'll be putting out on the podcast here in the next few weeks. So, but it's a good moment. We do this fall conference every year. Good time for people to come together. I always say I always don't say you and I, but I have the privilege of talking to most of our directors and coordinators and city staff on a regular basis. You have that same privilege of talking to them, but most people don't. And so the fall conference is that one time a year where everybody who's willing and able come to the room, come to a hotel somewhere around the country, and we just spend 48 hours together, Monday afternoon to Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and we just collaborate. And it's a good time.
It is. Yeah, it's exciting. You get to hear all the stories, and you get to pray together, and you get to strategize together and talk about things, that are going well and not going well. And it's just a good time of learning and growing and getting to know each other better. I enjoy it every year.
That's right. Well, and we learn too, because we've often said for decades now, you can say decades, that
that's true.
Everything we learn from what happens in the clubs, what happens in the chapters, what happens out in the field of First Priority. We're not learning things in the support center, right? We're responding to what's happening around the country and learning and growing. And that's, the fall conference is a good time to be doing that. When we hear everybody, we get them in the room, we pray together, like you said, and yeah, it's a good time to move forward. So, yeah.
It really is. And, we're going to talk about this a little bit today, but it's just, you think about all the chapters that have been out there for years, decades, as you said, and it's you and I get to talk to them and see what they're doing and hear about things. And this is a chance for everyone else to hear that and see what God can do and how things work. So it's a great moment.
Well, that brings us a little bit to the point of this podcast today, is because one of the things that's not happening that oftentimes does is kind of a State of the Union address at the fall conference. We get to hear from the president himself, Mark Robbins, right? And I know you always kind of roll your eyes at me when I do stuff like that, but where is First Priority of America at? Where is First Priority in America at? Not just the organization, us and our staff, but the movement in a bigger sense. Where is the movement at? What's happening? What are the current trends? And we're not doing that this year. You're doing a little bit more of a talk on shepherding, which is where we got our theme for the conference this year. Our podcast listeners are going to get to hear that later, but I wanted to get you on here today to, just the two of us talk about what's going on in First Priority of America. What's the trends? What are we seeing? You want to get us kicked off on that conversation?
Yeah. And I think we start with the chapters, the ones that have been out there. We'll talk some about new stuff, but we got a lot of organizations that have been doing First Priority for a long time. And one of the things that I know we're seeing is just new growth in those areas. Yep. There's so many of those that are, taking on new areas because God's calling them there. What I do love about that is they're not just doing this haphazardly. They feel like the Lord's leading them in the directions they're going. They're watching God give them favor and things like that. I think we talked about this several months back about how the favor of the Lord is kind of on this thing at the moment. It feels like, it's just a time in history where First Priority is being embraced and given some good opportunities. So, a lot of the chapters, the market saturation that we could have in clubs there is just phenomenal. So to see them start going after that and doing that, we're experiencing some mergers, some places that are bordering with other ones that are going to start combining their efforts and things like that. And so it's exciting to see that type of unity taking place. And of course, there, as anything, there's always the challenges that go with that. So we have places that are still trying to figure that out and still trying to decide if and where to go. And I know, Brad, you're putting a lot of effort into that. Well, we've offered up and started a process where we're going to do some consulting and coaching with that. So our listeners might want to hear a little bit about what you're doing with that, at least a 50,000 foot view.
Yeah, First Priority of America has been operating on the EOS, the traction kind of coaching system where we set annual goals, quarterly rocks. We have a regular set of meetings. And what we've seen is a growing interest in helping people get onto that platform to reach those goals. You talked about market saturation. We're in 889 at the end of last year, at the end of last school year, 889 clubs. But if we did not launch any new territories, we only hit market saturation, we've been in over 2,400 schools.
Right.
So, what would that look like to help everybody who said, hey, I'm currently in 10 schools, but I could be in 50, or I'm currently in 20 schools, but I could be in 100, whatever the case might be. We can come alongside of them because we've seen growth through the traction model. So, setting up different levels that, hey, if First Priority of America is willing to come alongside of us, I'd be willing to put my annual goals and quarterly rocks and kind of my weekly to-do lists down on paper, get on a call with 4 other directors every week and just talk about, hey, how was this past week? Did I reach my marks? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? What can I be doing different? Let's problem solve together. They call it IDS, identify, discuss, and solve problems. And so, just offering that up on a number of different levels. The one I just described is the easiest, I guess, if you say it that way. The deeper levels get a little bit more involved, get into some fundraising and things of that nature collaboratively together. So, it's an exciting adventure. Hoping to kick that off. Starting to share interest with a few of the chapters out there, and hoping to kick that off here starting in January. So
and that excites me and is really encouraging because we First Priority of America, we're really a bottom up organization. We have what I would refer to as corporate locations that we're starting now. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we also have these franchise locations, if you will, all across the country. And it's exciting for us to really start becoming a support center and having everything they need, whether that's a process for HR best practices or it's marketing or whatever. I think that alignment that we're starting to see is going to really just embolden the movement of first priority, and it's just exciting. It's a good place to be.
And can I share examples of that?
I would, yes. I think it'd be great.
I think one of the things that, again, we might be hanging our hat on that a little bit, but yeah, First Priority of America, we've gone from, Mark, and Brad, to there's 17 of us, and that involves, field staff out in Kansas City, the directors, area coordinators, Fort Worth, Tennessee One, all that. It's not just the National Support Center in the office here, but there's 17 of us running around. So, Christina and you have gotten really good at helping hire people, identifying the right people. And we were able to walk along the Metro East St. Louis, Corin and Stacy, when Sean and Gina stepped aside to help find Linda Bragg. It wasn't just us, but they used some of our systems and Christina's strategy, so they don't have to create their own, right? They don't have to go out there and say, okay, what do we want to do? Well, let's advertise here. Let's take applications this way. Let's interview that way. And they were able to follow the interview questions we had, and it made it a whole lot simpler for them to find the right person.
I agree. And even just the, personality profiling is a hot button, but we've created targets for these roles that we're looking for, and that's helped us to zero in on the right talent. That spills over into, as when you're trying to raise funding and you're trying to get the attention of people across the country, that you want them to know what first priority is and how it works, so they could get behind that. That those types of things really button up us organizationally to where you got your ducks in a row here kind of on things, and that really makes people feel confident about supporting, getting behind. So all this is kind of accumulating into a good organizational structure that we've had to just continue over the last few years, building out, working through, learning, making mistakes.
That's right.
It's been healthy.
It is healthy. Well, and one of the other things I was thinking about just a moment ago, and it really isn't a system or a strategy, it's just a byproduct. It really came from Amber when she went through her legal battles. But we were just in Johnston County with Rachel and Phil over there. Rachel's the director, Phil's the board chair, long time tenure in both of them now. And yeah, they're facing some legal trouble. You talk about state of union, legal trouble. I shouldn't say it that way, because that's not opposition.
They're facing opposition.
Facing spiritual opposition.
Yes.
They would like some legal advice.
Yes.
And what their words were is, hey, we have uncles and friends and know people who know lawyers, but when they talk to the lawyers locally, the lawyers are all like, well, that's a First Amendment law, and I'm not really familiar with that, or religious law, or whatever the case writes. They're not familiar with that and can't really offer legal advice properly. And so they came to us. One of their questions when we met with them was, hey, do you have anybody? And we could say, yes, we do. We have connections with the Liberty Institute, and we can give you some contact information. We can tell you how to call in and best practices to get in there and get some help with that. So we still need to follow up with them there, but yeah, it's just another example of working together, and not just working together for lawyer advice, but working together in prayer. Would ask everybody too. They're doing a 52 days of prayer now until the end of November. They're 2 or 3 weeks into that, just praying for the protection of the church, the unity of the church, for their clubs not to get shut down because the Satanist church that is against them have straight up said, we're not wanting to start Satanist clubs. We're just telling the principals we are so that they shut First Priority down.
Right.
It's like, oh, there it is. Plain and go in their cars.
And we shouldn't be surprised by that. And we're not, because, anytime you start doing things and you start getting some attention, the spiritual warfare comes, and the attacks of the enemy, and that comes from all angles. And, we could spend 3 days here sitting and going through that, all the opposition that people have faced, whether that's personal lives, spiritual things, organizationally, it's all there.
It is.
I think that's, I was talking to Larry Franks the other day, one of our guys down in Decatur. he made a comment that we should be concerned if that isn't happening. So you put that in perspective, count it all joy, right? As the book of James says.
You should be concerned if you're not concerned.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So so the chapters are doing great, and we're at a new place with that where we're starting to serve and support them more effectively and efficiently, and provide them training and resources and best practices. So I'm encouraged by that. Which the new locations that we've launched in the last few years: Fort Worth, Kansas City, Tennessee one. Recently, the Ozarks. Those places are really doing well. They're growing. Obviously, culturally, those are different places. The staff is different there, so they're all on different paces and different paths. But we are seeing First Priority start to take root, and clubs start and grow. So
we are.
I'm encouraged about that.
Can I give those numbers while you're talking?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I'm glad you got those handy.
I do. Tennessee one has 36 clubs that they're up to. Fort Worth is in 21. Both of those are shooting for 40 as their target number. Kansas City is up to 10, which is tremendous. They're up from 6 to 10. They're shooting for 19 here in the next. I believe these are by December 31st.
Next quarter, right?
Yeah, this quarter. The Ozarks, you mentioned, just launched. Jeff came on full time August 1st. He had a couple clubs going already, but he's in 5 now, shooting for 8. Doing that all by himself, where the other places have 2 or 3 staff members. Justin by himself has 4 and is looking at hitting 10, which he says he might hit 8 actually. But yeah. I mean, 76 clubs in those new places that you mentioned that weren't there 2 years ago. And they're all shooting together for 117 clubs total here by December 31st. So it's a crazy moment.
It is. And that it's like we always say, our guarantee is that students will become followers of Christ if First Priority is implemented. And we're seeing that happen already in these places. And most clubs have just kicked off, and some I don't think even have, where our numbers aren't completely back, because it takes a while for that to happen. But, and you mentioned, the Ozarks just coming on board, and you referred to Cincinnati. That'll be a new place that we'll probably actually put a dot on the map in January. It looks like we're doing a luncheon up there, and hopefully we'll be at the place funding wise that we can get that one moving more faster and better. And the other one that I think is new to folks that would be listening is San Antonio. We just did a luncheon there a few weeks ago, back in September. Had 37 people in the room. That's less our staff that was there. So really in the 40s, but a lot of momentum and excitement there. Just talking to Shane out in Texas, who's helping do some follow-up, and had a great call with a business person. We refer to those people as key influencers in a new district, who are the people that can rally the Christian business community behind this to see us reach the schools. And there's a lot of energy going on down there. 2 or 3 folks that have really stepped up and said, I feel like God's calling me to this organization to help it get traction, if you will, in San Antonio. So, man, it's exciting, but it's also takes your breath away sometimes, if I'm being honest, because you're like, man, here comes another one. Here we go. We gotta do this. We got to do that. So it's good, but it's a lot.
It is, but as you say that, I will say the tension of the moments. One of the biggest things we continue to work for and is filling the bench, as the board calls it. Who is the next person? We're still looking for the right person in Kansas City, even though we continue to interview and get excited. That just hasn't worked out in the last 4 months. And a coordinator in the Ozarks, and now, San Antonio gets funded. We'll start hiring in January there too. And who are those people who we know that can help fill that? At the same time, as nervous as that makes us, God's timing in it all. We just see his hand guiding it and bringing the next person up, raising up the next person. Shane and Steve are helping as regional managers right now. And, who knows where that next regional manager will come from. But hey, God just continues to bring the right people in the right place at the right time, and He's faithful.
Yeah, amen. He is. Yeah, and it's a good thing for our listeners out there to just keep in mind as they're praying for us and having conversations. We're looking for people. People that are called to this. That's the
Yeah.
important thing, and that's when you talk about interviewing and sifting through applications and things. Man, you're looking for that calling, because I've just started my 27th or 28th year of being involved in this. So the calling piece to first priority is at the top, because it's different. The role is different. The skill sets are, I wouldn't say completely unique, but there are some unique things about our first priority leaders that we need to look for. So we need people to come in and help us grow this thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you were going to say something, but yeah, how can the people be praying for us or for first priority around the country? I'm gonna start off and say, so one of the things that was on my mind, or continues to be on my mind, partially because I'm in the state of Tennessee, but there's been bills passed in the state of Tennessee and Florida that require permission slips for all extra curricular activities, non-curricular activities, and it's placed an undue burden on some students. We're trying to figure it out, work around it in some places. In some places, invite week, the teachers don't make kids who are, guests. They're not a member of the club yet. Mm-hmm. They're just a guest checking it out, and they don't make them have a permission slip if they just want to come check out a club. Mm-hmm. So there are things that are happening in that, but just some prayer, because Pensacola, South Florida, Tampa, East Tennessee 1, Steve here in Nashville, we're all dealing with that on a regular basis. And every school is just a little bit different, but it's a point of concern.
It is.
That one gets into national politics because DeSantis is running for president, and Amber talks about that one being, just him adding fuel to his fire to try to get more votes, and doesn't always realize what the turmoil he causes when he does something, right? It's not just affecting the left, it's affecting the right as well. And so just prayer through that for wisdom for our directors and coordinators. And Amber was very wise the other day on the phone with me, where she said, I've been pushing on this, actually talked to the lawyer who wrote the bill, but if God put this in place to protect us for some reason that I can't see, then I feel like I've done my job and I need to back off now, because it might be for a reason as well. So
that's
just
true.
All that.
I think so. And I think even situations like this, we need to find the silver lining in that, it's burdensome, and it does, that particular instance or situation you're talking about may eliminate or make it real difficult for those students who want to be a part of first priority that don't have parenting and good parenting, if any. And we have a lot of that in our world, because we're a safe place, and we're a multi designed organization where every kid, from the star football player to the band member to the academic team leader to whatever, they all feel like they can be a part of our clubs. So that, as everyone would know, means there's different situations in all those students' lives. So, but the positive thing to that is, getting parents more aware and involved in what's going on. And so I think that's how we have to look at that. But that is certainly one thing that our listeners need to pray about, is just the world's changing. And as we know that, and legal things and issues like this can certainly detour us or give us hurdles we have to jump through. But I think we'll still do that. The other thing I think I would ask our folks to pray about is just wisdom and discernment for all of us, because like you said, maybe not being quick to respond or quick to act, but sitting back and going, okay, what is really behind all this? How can we navigate this and still let students do what they do, because that's who we are.
Right.
So I think that's the advice I would give to everyone. And you and I've talked about this. This is really not about adults, it's about students. So we have to make sure we keep that perspective on it. I would pray too, Brad. The other thing I'd want to add on here is just pray for our leadership nationally, because our board is extremely passionate and heavily involved with what we're doing, and none of us are immune to the spiritual warfare and things that go on. So we all need prayer for that.
Right. That's right. Well, very cool. Very cool. Well, yeah, thanks for joining me today, getting on here, talking a little First Priority of America. And I hope everybody who's driving home from fall conference listening to this is encouraged by that as well. And it was good to see everybody. If we didn't see you, definitely would love to next year. So April, October 28, 29, 30. It's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday here in Nashville, Tennessee. We've got some spring meetings that'll be coming as well. One will be in Decatur, May 5 and 6. I'm throwing some dates out off the top of my head, so I hope they're right. But it's a Monday and a Tuesday. And then the next one is in South Florida, I believe, on May 13 and 14, that Monday and Tuesday. So
I think you hit those right.
Sweet.
You did, yeah.
Brain like a trap. Usually the stuff stays out, and that one must have stayed in the brain. So, yeah.
That's good.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Brad. I appreciate it. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, everybody listening, thanks for participating. If you're involved in a club, you got some stuff going on, would love to hear your prayer requests as well, not just you praying for us, but we would love to pray for you. So shoot them over to me, brad@fpofamerica.com. I will share them with Steve because he's also a praying man, even though he's not here hosting with me today. And we'll take some time to do that. And I guess I'll take one last moment before we come off is if we do hold a monthly prayer call, the fourth Monday of every month from noon to 1 Central. We get on a Google Meet, a video call. You can phone call into that as well, and we just spend some time praying together. So if you'd like an invitation to that, just email me, and we'll get you invited to that regularly scheduled calendar event. So other than that, until next week, thanks for listening in.
Thanks, Brad.